What's going on, guys? I am back. It has been quite a long time since I've made a video. I actually sort of just considered the channel non-existent, like I wasn't going to continue it. I think a big part of it is that I just wanted too much out of the channel as opposed to just doing it for like the therapeutic purposes and to further my own knowledge, which is a much better intention behind running a channel. Because I do have another channel and like I post to that one and it gets more views and stuff, so it's kind of psychologically tough to post to this channel when I know it's not as popular and it takes a long time to build up an audience. But I don't actually care about that much, so that's kind of how I'm going to be operating this from now on, and just sort of exploring my own genuine interest in the stock market. So originally my intention behind this channel was to just any kind of business endeavors to share with you and pursue them together and sort of turn it into like a here's how to make money, start your own business type of thing, help people with that. I don't want to do that anymore. I'm just going to change it to being a stock market. Here's some of my thoughts, except not the way that a lot of popular stock market channels are, in a sense that they are covering the moment to moment fluctuations of the market. I really want to just do it more as a diary and as a learning experience for myself as I progress and try to become a successful investor, which is a big goal of mine. And that is what I wanted to sort of kick off the new trajectory of this channel with, which is my history of investing and just like why I'm interested in it, my experiences with it in the past, and sort of my philosophy and how I think about it and what I think it takes to be successful. So just a real quick rundown. I'm 33. And listening to a lot of my peers, like my age group, a very formative investing experience, those that are into investing, was the financial crisis, 2008. Interestingly for me, my family is not like super into investing, but they're aware of it and they do like save money, put it in the stock market, which is more than most families do. But they're just like a middle-class family just trying to, you know, save a little bit and grow their wealth over time, just doing the best they can type of a thing. And I've heard a lot of people say your first experience with the stock market is like it really shapes you as an investor. And for me, despite only being, I guess, 12 years old, the dot-com bubble is like very formative for me personally. Not because I had like a bunch of money in the stock market in 2000. I was 12 years old. I did have some money in the stock market though. I was like following CNBC because I didn't realize it at the time, but it was such just a craze of euphoria and just like everyone investing. And my family, I don't know the full extent of the damage, but I would say it was quite damaging. We would go to like family gatherings and people would just be pitching new stocks like Qualcomm. Like my family had no idea about technology, but they were really into a lot of these tech stocks. And I, by proxy, just became interested in them. So I think I pretty distinctly remember the big first stock I bought. I think it was like $1,000 worth. Like I saved up a pretty good amount of money from birthday parties and stuff. Put $1,000 in AOL, pre-Time Warner merger, which if you know anything about sort of the timeline, I believe AOL Time Warner merger was sort of like marking the top of the bubble. So like really bad timing. And that was one big experience for me, was just like, wow, this maybe is kind of rigged, or like maybe there's something I'm not really aware of. But even after that, I was still really interested in the stock market. I just couldn't really wrap my head around how to have an edge in it. I would read some books. I read like about the price to earnings multiple, and I was like, okay, you want to buy things that are cheap potentially that could grow over time. I knew the general concepts. It was just I had trouble at that age with like looking at a balance sheet, which still to this day is not like a super strength of mine. So that was really, I would say that's a formative experience for me. And I'm understanding a lot of the bias that I have from that experience even to this day. The second big thing, which is funny because in 2008, I was in college and I had like 12,000 or so in my IRA. And I was just like getting a little into it. And I realized like just as a pure retail investor, I was getting caught up in the hype cycles, like when action was happening in the market, which is kind of what's going on right now. So I'm very cognizant of the fact that, oh, we're starting a stock market YouTube channel. Things could be, like I'm pretty negative generally on the market right now for that reason and some other reasons. But in 2008, I remember just like I had no real idea what I was doing. I bought Citigroup stock, I remember distinctly, because I was like, oh, bank's safe, like, you know, just compound your money over time. What was it like? Might have bought it for like $12, and then within the next few months, it went to like 2 or something, just like crazy, like 80% down. Luckily, at the time, it was a ton of money. Luckily, I was young and I have recouped, obviously, a lot of the losses. It wasn't really a big deal in the grand scheme of things. So I think, like, relative to a lot of my peers, people my age, I have more experience with things going catastrophically bad than a lot of them do, because anyone who's gotten into the stock market in the last maybe 10 or 12 years really has not felt a lot of pain. After that experience in 2008, you know, my grandma is pretty big in the stock market, and she was just always like, buy and hold, buy and hold. All you do is buy good companies, you hold them forever. And I always thought that was kind of dumb. And now I've realized, like, you know, she kind of knew what she was talking about. For a really long time, I was just like, the game's rigged, efficient market theory. I was like pretty bought into that. Just thinking that how am I going to like figure out an advantage in picking a stock versus these people that are super smart and they do it for a living? And I do have an answer to that question, which I think is really important if you want to invest in the stock market. Like, you should ask yourself, what's my advantage, right? There's a couple of big ones, which I'm going to go into in maybe a subsequent video. But yeah, I was just big on the efficient market hypothesis, thinking that I had no real edge. For a while, I was just passively investing in ETFs, which did well, of course, over the past however long. Until recently, maybe 4 years ago, once I started my business, had a lot of success, had a lot of money, and I was like, what do I do with this? What do wealthy people do? How do I like grow my money over time? I felt like I had a new added responsibility, maybe a little bit more than when I was just saving like a couple $100 a month working out of college. I felt like this is something I have to figure out. So I've really, in the past few years, gone on like a deep dive, like a pursuit of how to do it, I guess, essentially. And like, is it reasonable to think that I, just some random person, could do well over time? And I've come to the conclusion that I can, although I don't have a lot of evidence to support that yet. So, of course, if you're watching this channel, like, don't copy me at all. Just purely, I'm documenting my process. And then I guess I would say like a third chapter, if we're going just by like the first chapter being the dot-com bubble, second chapter being getting a little bit back into it, losing all my money, financial crisis, then passive investing since then. Third chapter, ideally the final chapter, is I came across a few people that really changed my perspective and made me realize that an individual does actually have a lot of advantages. It's just most people don't take advantage of that. Human psychology is sort of working against you. So the first guy who got me back into just realizing like, oh, this maybe is possible, Tobias Carlyle. He wrote a book called The Acquirer's Multiple. Really good book. He got me just back into this about 4 years ago. And then I obviously knew of Warren Buffett, but I like researched him, tried to understand his whole methodology. Obviously, he's a super genius, like, you know, naturally gifted. Basically, the LeBron James of investing from birth was just gifted with this skill. It proves that, like, obviously you can be really consistent. Like, he has almost a 60-year track record of doing exceptionally well. So I think that in and of itself sort of disproves like the efficient market hypothesis. This one guy has done it for 60 years. Because, you know, when you see someone who's done it for a year or two or even 5 or 10 years, in the back of your mind, you're thinking like maybe this guy's sort of just getting lucky. But 60 years, that's pretty undeniable. So obviously learning a lot about Warren Buffett. And then really, I was still sort of like, okay, he's a super genius. This is kind of tough. I learned about this guy named Mohnish Pabrai, and he just basically mirrored what Warren Buffett would do. He clones his investments. He clones some other super investors, and he's had incredible returns as well. And then from him, I read this book called The Education of a Value Investor by Guy Spier, which is the most impactful investing book I've ever personally read. And that's what really set me on this path of like, I guess it is possible. It's something I want to pursue. I think initially as a kid, it was obviously the money that more so got me interested in all of this. But I think like it's honestly the ultimate pursuit of just like mastering your own psychology, just having a long-term mindset on everything, and above and beyond just the money and like feeling smart when you get something right. I think it's just like a lifelong pursuit. It's sort of like golf. Like, you can do it your entire life and get better and better and just enjoy it the whole time. So it is a journey I want to embark on, which I've already been doing for the past few years. And the reason for the channel is because I understand that like getting your thoughts out of your mind is important. And I've tried writing a little bit, but it's just not really the medium for me. So I think sharing some of my thoughts in video format like this is what I'm going to end up doing, just to document my journey. So yeah, that's a little bit about my history and my future, hopefully. And I guess the thing that really excites me the most is just like building an indestructible portfolio of companies that like you pass on to your kids. Because even I know in my family, like my great uncle bought Walmart when it was like $20, and you know, like the whole family's just living off that type of a thing. Not my family, but his family, his kids and stuff. So I would like to have that sort of a legacy for my kids. And it just seems like a fun pursuit, something that's constantly intellectually stimulating. It really just tests all aspects of like growing as a human being, maybe except for physical. There's no real physical exertion, although being in good physical shape probably helps your mind-body connection. But yeah, that's going to do it for this video, guys. That's my whole story. I'm going to be making more regular videos. I said that once before, so I guess no promises, but I'm planning on weekly. So I will see you soon.